Hey there, Salina here and Baby Bean, and this video is going to be about our experience flying on a plane. This is really supposed to be a vlog video, but some of the time I had actually forgot to film, and then the other time I was uncomfortable filming around people, so I really didn't do like a whole bunch of filming the day that we were on the plane, but I still want to share with you guys my experience on the plane. So this video will have like clips from the little bit of time that I did film, and then the rest of it will just be me talking about my experience. So our trip was, I don't even know how many hours on a plane. I want to say maybe about 4 hours total. I don't even know how long the first flight was. It was either I think it was about 3 hours. So our first flight was from Seattle to Denver, and then our next flight was from Denver to Cincinnati. I believe the first flight was 3 hours long, and the second flight was 1 hour long. So and if the angle keeps changing throughout this video, it's because my camera is on the bed and somebody is going to mess with the bed throughout the whole video. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so the first flight was supposed to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is super early, but we did it. We got up around, I want to say like 3:30, packed everything in the car, finished packing up, and we left the house by 4. We got there at about 4:40, 5 o'clock. And like this whole part I just completely forgot to film. So we got there and found a parking spot. We got everything out the car. Hello. So I completely forgot to vlog the first part of this. We're getting off the elevator now at the airport. I had to take his car seat with me, so we took that out, and at this point I didn't realize it then, but later on I realized that in the beginning I was actually really thankful to have my mom there in the beginning with me, because on the flight it was just me and him, but before we got checked in and stuff, my mom was there with me, and so we had one suitcase, his car seat, and a book bag that I carried on my back. And it would have been really hard for me to carry the car seat and the suitcase with me inside, even just to go get one of the little trolley thingies. That would have been hard too with him. So I'm actually really thankful for her being there to help me in the beginning, and she really actually wanted to come to the back with me, like through security and all that stuff, but of course that didn't happen because I'm not a minor. So I had decided to go with the Maytai carrier. In my what to pack with when traveling with a baby video, I was saying that I wasn't sure which carrier I wanted to take, whether it was going to be the ring sling or the Maytai. I decided to go with the Maytai because from what I found out, I should have been able to wear him through through security. So if I would have had to take him off, then I would have worn the ring sling, but since I was able to wear him, I decided to go with the Maytai. We got in. We actually had to print out our tickets inside before we checked, and that's how we checked in. And then we checked in our bags, and the car seat was going under the plane. I was not, because I had him in the carrier, and also it's not one of the carrying car seats. It's one of the like bigger car seats for older kids. So that one was going on the plane, and plus he was going to be sitting in my lap on the plane. He wasn't going to have his own seat. My mom walked with me down to security, and that was as far as she went. She waited until I got through to make sure that everything was okay, or to make sure, that me and him were okay as far as she could go. So going through security with him was actually really easy. One of the things that I forgot to do that somebody told me not to do was to wear a jacket or a cardigan because you're going to have to take it off. And I would have been fine, but I put the jacket on underneath the carrier, so I had to take the carrier off in order to take the jacket off. So if I had to do it over again, I would have worn the jacket over top the carrier, so it would have been a lot easier to take off. So what I ended up having to do, I was able to do it by myself, taking off the carrier. But what I had to do was, I put down my bag that I had on my back, and I just undid the carrier, and I held him, and I took my jacket off, and it was relatively easy to do. And like I said, next time I will most definitely wear a jacket over top the carrier. So when I went through security, they did let me carry him, which was fantastic. It made things so much easier. I also wore slip-on shoes, and that also made things easier. They were easy to take off and to put into the basket. And I didn't go through the regular scanner. I went through just a metal detector. Sometimes they will do a wand, but I went through a metal detector that's like the shape of a door frame. And then they tested my hands for bomb residue, and then that was it. I was able to put my shoes on, grab my stuff, and go to the gate. So I got to the gate like a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes before they were getting ready to board. And when I sat down, he automatically just wanted out of the carrier. He wanted to be able to turn, because I had him facing me, so he wanted to be able to turn around and see everything and everyone and all that stuff. So I took him out the carrier. Then on the first plane ride, one of the good things was that they let, well, first they let like older people or people who would need more help getting on the plane, so like disabled people, and then they let people with children board. And that part was awesome, so I was able to get a little footage there. We are on the plane. So right now we have a middle seat, but I'm hoping the person that sits on the inside will let me sit there. Hopefully. We'll see though. And TSA also let me carry him through security in the actual carrier, so that was nice. So thankfully the guy that was sitting on the window seat actually let me sit by the window, and that was fantastic. Especially with breastfeeding, I'm not 100% comfortable breastfeeding in public, and he doesn't like a cover, nor do I. It's kind of a hassle. But I'm still uncomfortable breastfeeding in public, so having a window seat was awesome. And then with the fact that I do have a child, it was easier to not have to worry about two people on the side of me, because he spent a good amount of time trying to touch my neighbor, and it would have been hard if I had two people on the side, because if I moved him away from one person, he would start trying to touch the other person. So that was really thankful. I was really thankful that the guy let me switch with him, and it also made breastfeeding so much more comfortable. And the seat that we had was near the wings, so the engines were loud, but that actually wasn't a problem. One of the things that I was worried about was takeoff, because I, heard with babies, takeoff can make them start crying because their ears aren't going to pop or whatever. But he actually did really good on both plane rides. The first ride, I feel like because we were so close to the engine, he actually fell asleep on takeoff. I didn't feed him right away. I was actually going to wait until the wheels started to lift off the ground, and when he got fussy, then I would feed him. But he did not get fussy at all, so he actually ended up falling asleep in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. It went a lot better than what I expected. Eventually he woke up, got fussy, and then I fed him. And the ride was really good and easy. I had the tablet to help keep him entertained. I think the only bad thing was that the space was so small, and he's active, so he did not like being confined to like that really small area in order to play or to do whatever. It was honestly a really good flight. It was a lot better than I expected. When we landed, it was about like I'll say it was like 2:15 or something like that, and then my next plane was supposed to be leaving at like 2:30, and so I was like really pressed for time when we landed, or I thought I was gonna be, and I didn't know where my next plane was going to take off from. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I have a baby and I'm going to have to rush. But my next plane actually ended up being delayed, which was awesome. So I had time to find where my next plane was going to take off, and it was actually like right next to where we got off our first plane at. So that was awesome. And so we wait. Since the plane was delayed, we ended up sitting there waiting. I had actually made some snacks for him the night before, and all I used was some flour, baking soda, rice cereal, and some baby food because we are doing baby led weaning. So I wanted to make use of the baby food and rice cereal that we had, and I'm thinking of doing a video on it, but I will do that after I kind of like tweak the recipe, because even though I used baby food, it really just tasted plain. Either way, he liked it, and I got a few pictures of him eating it while we were waiting on our next plane. So again, like, this takeoff was also a pretty easy takeoff. It's My seat was an aisle seat. This plane had 2 rows. On this plane ride, my seat was an aisle seat, and I asked the lady that was sitting next to me if it was okay if I took the window seat, and again, I was able to take the window seat, so that made things a lot easier for me. As soon as we got on the plane this time, I actually had to feed him. It had been, I want to say, about 3 hours since he ate, and he usually eats every 2 hours, so he was fussy. So I went on ahead and fed him. He was actually fussy before we got on the plane, but I was trying so hard to wait until we got on the plane, and I was able to do that. So after we got on the plane, right after we got on the plane, and as soon as I was able to get the window seat, I fed him and he calmed down. He didn't fall asleep this time, but well, yeah, I can't even remember anymore. I think he fell asleep after I fed him. So again, this was another easy takeoff, and this plane ride, it was a smaller plane, and the ride also wasn't as long, but it was a pretty nice ride. And when I got off of this plane, people were actually complimenting him, saying that he fussed a few times because he was tired and hungry. But other than that, he did good, and people were complimenting him, saying that he did really well on the plane. Yeah, because usually people dread having babies on the plane because they're gonna be crying and annoying and all this other stuff. But he actually ended up doing really well, and I was happy about that, and people complimenting him and saying that he looked like he was actually really enjoying it. So that part was really awesome. So after we got off the plane, I want to say this is where things were a little harder for me, because since this was the last plane ride and I actually hadn't put him back in the carrier yet. This ride, this was it. So we were going to be leaving the airport. So I knew that I would have a really long distance to walk. So I had to put him back into the carrier. And it wasn't hard to do by myself, but I probably would have picked an easier carrier like a ring sling to put on next time. What I did was I found a chair and I sat him in the chair and put my bag down. Since he is old enough to sit up by himself, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I put the carrier on and then put him in the carrier and was on my way. So that took a few minutes. And I can honestly tell you, the walk to the baggage claim area was so long. He is 19 pounds, and carrying him, I want to say we probably walked half a mile, if not more, through the airport. Like, that is how far we walked, and I was so tired by the time we got to the baggage claim. And this was the part that kind of made me thankful that I had my mom in the beginning, because I had to get my suitcase, I had to get the suitcase, and I had to get his car seat on top of having the book bag on and carrying him. It was a lot of weight for me to be carrying, and that part was hard, which is why I was thankful for my mom in the beginning, but I did it, and we made it on our first airplane ride, and it was an ish ton better than I expected. And I was actually going to film more of that day, but that didn't happen. We actually ended up getting into a car accident on the way to my sister's house, and so thankful that nobody got hurt in the accident. But after that, it was just really overwhelming, so that also caused me not to really film anything else on that day after we got off the plane. So that is going to be it for this video. My next video is going to be our experience traveling by car, because we traveled by car from Ohio back to Washington, and it was a 4-day trip. It's going to be, I'm not exactly 100% sure yet, but I believe it's going to be, I will do the 4 vlogs, 4 days that all the video footage that I have and photos, I will put those together, and then I will talk about the experience afterwards. Otherwise, I'll do it like this, but those actually have a lot more footage, so stay tuned for those. And sometime in the future, I will also be doing a video of tips on traveling with an infant. So if you have not subscribed already and you are interested in that video, subscribe for that. And that is going to be it. So new video every Wednesday and every Sunday, and until next time, deuces.